And if you consider the supply of Bitcoin relative, let's say, to the supply of gold in the world and what the total value of gold is, if Bitcoin were to go to those kinds of numbers, you'd be talking about $400,000 to $600,000 per Bitcoin.
Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily, where you subscribe for daily videos on everything going on in the cryptocurrency space today. You have until October 28th at the latest before a flood of money comes rolling into Bitcoin. I'm going to explain this. Certain paperwork has just been filed with the SEC. Also, Fidelity has released a report, Understanding the Bitcoin White Paper, recommending that their clientele purchases and invests in Bitcoin. Citibank. This is the same Citibank who made a $300,000 price prediction by the end of this year. The same Citibank has just released a report saying that Bitcoin could become the currency of choice for international trade over a central bank digital currency, and they take the time to articulate their point. The world is changing. I'm going to update you everything that you need to know as far as what's going on in cryptocurrency today. I do this every day. So if you're interested in making money in cryptocurrency, you want to stay up to date on a daily basis, make sure you subscribe. Before we get to the SEC news, before we get to Citibank, before we get to Fidelity, let's let Scott Minerd of Guggenheim finish up. He says cryptocurrency has come into the realm of respectability and will continue to become more and more important in the global economy. So this is him articulating his $600,000 Bitcoin price prediction to Julia Chatterley on CNN.
We've been looking at Bitcoin for almost 10 years. And the size of the market just wasn't big enough to justify institutional money. As the total market cap of Bitcoin got bigger, around 10,000, it started to look very interesting. My view is, we did a lot of fundamental research. And if you consider the supply of Bitcoin relative, let's say, to the supply of gold in the world and what the total value of gold is, if Bitcoin were to go to those kinds of numbers, you'd be talking about $400,000 to $600,000 per Bitcoin. Now, that I'm not saying we'll ultimately get there, but that's an indication of what might be a measure of fair value. That gives you a lot of room to run. But then when you consider that within a course of a month, we went from 20,000 to 40,000 on Bitcoin, that smacks of short-term speculation. And so I agree with you. The speculation sort of got started there. Now the air's coming out of that speculative run, and so the money is migrating into other places. And as I indicated recently, I don't really see the institutional support today, which is just coming online from the likes of people like BlackRock and Guggenheim and other large institutional investors, being big enough to support the valuation at its current levels. So, Bitcoin has had a lot of times where it's had setbacks of 50% from its highs. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again. But I do want to say one thing. Your comment about Elon Musk before we got started, Elon has definitely proven himself to be a visionary. And I think that cryptocurrency has come into the realm of respectability and will continue to become more and more important in the global economy.
I just wonder whether the perceived interference in what we've seen for things like GameStop, perhaps the lack of success in moving a market like silver, pushes that money and that interest back into something where there's less interference in something like Bitcoin, or at least the perception of it.
See, I don't think most people realize just how early we are when it comes to Bitcoin and just how much of an asymmetrical opportunity Bitcoin is. But those who take the time to study it, like Citibank, surprisingly, you start to understand how big the potential for Bitcoin can get, which is probably the reason why Citibank just a few months ago put out a report, a prediction, predicting $300,000 Bitcoin 7 months from now. So obviously they've continued their research. Before we get to the SEC, October 28th, before we get to Fidelity, let's check this out. This is what you come to understand when you look into Bitcoin. Bitcoin could become the currency of choice for international trade. U.S. banking giant Citi has authored a new report which suggests Bitcoin could become an international trade currency as it evolves. The report, entitled Bitcoin at the Tipping Point, charts the evolution of Bitcoin from a form of payment to its current status as a store of value. The authors forecast that Bitcoin's core properties, combined with its global reach and neutrality, could see it morph into the currency of choice for international trade in around 7 years. That's how quickly this is all going to happen. Quote, a focus on global reach and neutrality could see Bitcoin become an international trade currency. This would take advantage of Bitcoin's decentralized and borderless design, its lack of foreign exchange exposure, its speed and cost advantage in moving money, the security of its payments and traceability. The Citi report explains that Bitcoin, in the role of a global trade currency, could be used by importers and exporters to pay for goods and services directly, simplifying the process of international trade. A decentralized cryptocurrency may be preferred to a central bank digital currency, the report argues, because no government or outside entity can take steps that might affect the supply of the trade currency, helping to decouple trade from political considerations. So, Citibank is getting long and getting loud. A $300,000 Bitcoin price by end of year cannot come soon enough. And again, this isn't my Moon Boy predictions. This is Citibank. Let's get to the top story of the day, because there's plenty of reason to believe that a Bitcoin ETF in the US will come sooner rather than later, and if and when this happens, a flood of money is going to come rushing into Bitcoin. October 28th is the final deadline. Let me give you the details. Boom! The first 19B-4 filing for a Bitcoin ETF in the US has just been sent to the SEC, which means the SEC is now officially on the clock. SEC now has 45 days to respond, in which they can say, yes, Bitcoin ETF approved, no, it's rejected, or we need more time. They can extend it for 45 more days. Then an additional 90 days after that if they want the sponsor to address the SEC's concerns about the approval. Then another 60 days if they want even more time. So in total, it could be approved in 45 days or less. It could be approved tomorrow. But at maximum, they have 240 days from register, which means they have until October 28th is the absolute deadline. Now, we've been seeing things like this all the way since late 2017, early 2018 with the Winklevoss twins. Each time it has got pushed to the final day and then rejected. This time, I think there is plenty of reason to think it will be approved, especially when we see stuff like this from Citibank, or when we see stuff like this from Fidelity. Between these two, they have hundreds of millions of clients, and both of these institutions are suggesting buy Bitcoin. Fidelity, right on their website, they tell their clients to buy Bitcoin. In fact, the key takeaways from this report that Fidelity just released: among an increasing number of investors and portfolio managers, Bitcoin is considered a legitimate and distinct asset class. This is coming from Fidelity. Bitcoin by design is a finite asset with both a unique supply and a unique demand dimension. And as its network increases, Bitcoin's value and durability could increase even faster. Seen as a form of digital gold, Bitcoin may act as a stable store of value and potentially offer protection against inflation and even hyperinflation. Bitcoin, however, faces risks from volatility, competitors, substitutes, regulation, and other factors. Further, Bitcoin may not be an appropriate or prudent diversifier for all portfolios. However, in my view, in Fidelity's view, some investors may wish to consider Bitcoin alongside other alternatives as one component of a bond side of a 60-40 stock bond portfolio. So, what do you think? Things are looking pretty bullish for Bitcoin. Is an ETF going to be approved by the SEC this year? Yeah, I think this year it's more likely than ever. I'd like to thank our sponsor for today's video, Blockfi.com/altcoin daily. I don't know if you saw, but they just had some recent news. Blockfi now adds support for Chainlink and Binance USD. So Blockfi is expanding their ecosystem. They're adding coins that people like, adding Chainlink, adding Binance. They also do it with Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, and stablecoins. If you have cryptocurrency just sitting around, why not take a portion of it and go over to blockfi.com/altcoin daily, put your crypto to work, earn up to 8.6 APY with a Blockfi interest account, get up to a 250 crypto bonus with a deposit of 25 or more in crypto. Blockfi is backed by some of the biggest names: Mike Novogratz of Galaxy Digital, Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss of Winklevi Capital, Anthony Pompliano and Mark Yusko of Morgan Creek Digital, Coinbase, and plus more than that. So guys, Blockfi is a company I like. Use blockfi.com/altcoin daily. Blockfi has a lot of happy customers. This is traditional financial services for cryptocurrency, and you could be earning up to 8.6% interest on your crypto. Are you still buying Bitcoin? Do you think that Bitcoin below $50,000 is still a good buy? I do, and that's why I wanted to share this with you today. All right, see you tomorrow.